Hello and welcome to the T-Force LCS Rundown, episode 146. My name is Maka Norum, of the New England Patriots, Free Brady, 5-5.
Shut your mouth.
Oh my God.
Just stop.
Fame. Absolutely loving it. High energy episode tonight because the Patriots won. Just kidding. Super low energy because I spent all night watching a dumpster fire. Joining me at that dumpster fire was Cole.
Oh, God. Jesus. 25 points. How? Tom Brady. That's how. Tom Brady in 93 plays.
Probably in order of how much they actually cared about the Super Bowl. Grant?
I think Duffy is just above me in that one. Cared about the Super Bowl.
I'll give it to Sean.
Hello.
He's here too.
I am here. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, quick story. I was at a barbecue joint, just eating like all you can eat wings, all you can eat ribs, brisket, everything while I was watching the game. And the TVs went out in the eating area. And there's only a couple people left in the third and fourth quarter because everyone assumed the game was over, so they left. So the kitchen staff invited myself and my three friends into the kitchen, and we watched the rest of the game on their tiny, janky-ass TV that they had in the kitchen. So I spent 2 straight hours in the kitchen eating fucking wings out of a goddamn, like, kitchen bowl.
I mean, you know what? This is going to be the last I say of it, is that Atlanta is the city of letdowns ever since the Braves, and just living in the city is torture. 2 running plays and a field goal and we win. But Kyle Shanahan had to get fancy, had to show off for the San Fran fans he'd be pleasing in the next few years and try and throw a pass and a sack and just...
The Atlanta Braves? You mean the infield flies?
Infield fly 2012.
Never
2014
forget.
choke.
Dude, I was watching that when it happened and I was like, holy shit, that's actually retarded.
And it wasn't even an infield.
Guys,
it was like halfway to it was halfway through the outfield.
You guys, we can't keep talking about other sports. We're going to really alienate 99.9% of our followers. We need to keep
Turns
going.
out, like, that's what all of our listeners, and that was, of course, the voice of Mr. Ian there.
Hello.
We'll get through the introductions at some point.
Yeah. Hi.
Blake's here, too.
Hey, rise up. And when I say rise up, I'm talking about my dick after that Mr. Clean commercial. Because goddamn, it wasn't just that wife that he got going. It was also your boy Blake. Finally, they're using his sexual marketing potential. Mr. Clean, fucking the cleanest head I'd ever seen. Those white clothes, you tell me how good his detergent is. Oh, wait, we already know. Mr. Clean for Prez 2020.
Bro, he made me sexually insecure.
Listen to the LCS goof down on YouTube for all of Blake's rants about the Mr. Clean commercial.
I don't know who's goofing. I'm not goofing.
Because we've been going on for this for about 10 minutes now.
I'm not goofing. I am simply telling my truth and my true feelings in my heart.
And
Magic
finally,
Eraser. Magic Eraser. This episode's brought to you by the Magic Eraser.
Kris is here too.
And if we're going for medals for who cared the most about the Super Bowl, I spent it eating some fried chicken, falling asleep on the couch to an O.J. Simpson documentary because I was too lazy to actually plug the Xbox in and get the Super Bowl to work.
Like,
so I woke up at like 8:30, was like, oh shit, sucks to be a Falcons fan.
You don't understand. This is so special to us. For the Super Bowl, my mom made cookies. And usually it's not a big deal, but usually the men make the cookies. She took it upon herself to make the cookies. And they let her down. Never again.
You know what? This is like...
Maybe that's why they
this
lost.
Is like number 5 for us, so...
Wait. Chris, what did OJ do it?
Dude, I'm 6 hours into this 9-hour documentary, man. I'm not sure.
It was a 9-hour documentary? What the hell?
It's a 3-part.
Hold on. You're watching a 9-hour documentary in which you already know the ending.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, dude. Shit's crazy, man.
So I'm gonna take a magic eraser to this goddamn introduction.
Thank you. That was the joke I wanted to
We're
make.
gonna talk about League of Legends because that's what we're here to do.
I'm taking Magic Eraser to something else.
Yes, the dumpster fire that is Western LCS.
I think he was talking about his penis,
Yeah.
Ian, or Cole.
In addition to lots of good sports ball action this weekend, we also had a lot of great League of Legends. North America, Europe, lots of crazy games. Starting to really flesh out this split. We're into week 3. We're looking at week 4. And we're starting to see some pretty big patterns form for certain teams. Over in North America, The top is kind of fizzling out. You've got TSM, FlyQuest, and Cloud9. Cloud9 taking the sole possession of first place.
Yeah, that's right, baby. That's
week.
right. Nothing new. Nothing new.
You've got other teams sort of starting to slink to the bottom. You've got Dignitas, unfortunately, Envy, and in terms of overall strength, Immortals can probably counted down there,
and Liquid
as well.
and Liquid.
Yeah, and Liquid, and we'll get to all of that, of course. Europe, it's kind of an exciting time for Europe right now because we just finished up our last week of intergroup play for this first phase of the split for them. So we know right where these groups are as of right now going into the next week. We've got 2 4-0 teams at G2 and Unicorns at the top of their group. We've got 2 0-4 teams at Roccat and Origin.
Oh yeah,
I don't understand
it's going to be a fun couple of weeks for Europe. I definitely. Let's start off this week in North America. So as it pans out after this week, Cloud9 takes sole possession in first place, followed by TSM and FlyQuest sharing a 5-1 record. Phoenix 1 is the next one down, 4-2. Then you have a pretty significant drop-off with Echo Fox, Liquid, CLG, and Immortals all tied up at 2 and 4. Then we get to the bottom of the group, 1 and 5. Let's start, as we do, at the top of the schedule with Cloud9. Mr. Ian, what do you got?
I got to say that this team is looking fucking amazing right now. This is the most excited I've been for Cloud9 since the OG Season 3 Cloud9 going to Worlds, the big hope of NA. Dude, this team looks so good right now. Versus Echo Fox, they just they rolled Echo Fox pretty fucking hard. The only hope that they had was Froggen in game 1 and Acadian in game 2. And neither of them even stood a chance. C9's macro game, late game, just completely dominated them. And then versus Envy, it was just the exact same situation. Envy is this team that we've come to expect of a potentially strong early game for the first 10 minutes and then fall off afterwards. And they didn't even get a lead in the early game. They kind of went even. And then after that, they just kind of completely fell off. The thing that I did find interesting, though, about this weekend for C9 was that Contracts played Ivern a couple times, which really shows that his jungle pool is adaptable to the meta. It's he saw that a lot of other people were playing Ivern, and he also picked that up and did very well with it. And so it really shows that he's not just this meta slave that only can play meta champions. He can quickly adapt to what's going on, and so I think that just makes Cloud9's future for the rest of the split and looking onward really, really bright. So
are they? Yeah. Would you say they are our hope, and we will be winning MSI? Yeah.
Dude, I already called it earlier.
At MSI? Who's actually there?
MSI's I'm gonna say C9, FlyQuest, and TSM. Wait, how many teams go to MSI from NA?
One.
Only one? Oh, no, I was thinking Worlds. I'm stupid. Yeah.
C9 oh no, you're thinking way ahead, but I think that couldn't be.
They are going to be at. Yeah, they are going to be at IEM Katowice, which we'll talk about as we get closer to that event. It'll be super exciting. But my biggest question about Cloud9 right now is they've had a really good time with every other team in the league. They are going up next week for their last round of teams before they've played everyone once. They've got Liquid, which should be a wash, and
FlyQuest.
The interesting question,
baby.
FlyQuest.
Oh, I'm so excited for that series.
How are you? Give us a prediction, and then Sean can make his point.
Okay. My prediction is all right. I'm gonna say C9 loses game 1 because High either is able to just outshot call or he manages to use jungle pressure to get a lead in the mid lane. But then C9 is able to adapt and take the next 2 And game 3 is not a stomp, but a handy win by C9. I think that's how it's going to play out.
What do you think, Sean?
I would like to point out there's some parallels here. You had the Samsung white, the Samsung blue.
Oh God!
C9 white, C9 blue, right?
Jesus.
So C9 or Samsung white was the better team overall, but in the head-to-head matchups, Samsung blue always came ahead. So, which one is which? We're gonna find out.
We will find out.
Spicy.
Blake, I want your opinion on this because FlyQuest is the other team up at the top here. This is sort of the biggest match for them because it's one of the only ones that they have left with a team above. What do you got?
Oh, it's an exciting one.
Typey.
It's so hard for me because I honestly want to say that High is going to do it and just win. Based on nothing other than my faith in him. I don't know, man. I don't really have an opinion, and I feel like I shouldn't because I can't. That's like picking between two children and saying who you love more.
It's also tough because we really haven't seen FlyQuest again. Well, it's hard because they're so high up. And no other team is looking as clean as Cloud9 is right now. So we haven't seen FlyQuest against a team as clean as Cloud9.
I think it's going to go 2-1 in the way of Cloud9. But I would not be surprised if it went 2-0 in the way of Cloud9 just because of how impeccable they are looking right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with how High and Moon played this weekend, anything's possible. I mean, High on that Zed, he could absolutely go off against Jensen.
Woo, that was impressive.
I
Who's to say
want
that
to
he would?
argue that I think FlyQuest is going to win 2-1 because I think that the sloppiness that Mott talked about is only because in FlyQuest's case because they tend to disrespect teams that are lesser than them. But whenever they face a team that they feel is on par with them or might even be more superior, they do step up and they get cleaner in their play. It's like 50-50, but I just want to be the guy that disagrees, so I'm going FlyQuest.
I want to know, do you guys think FlyQuest is going to all run out of steam, or do you think they're going to plateau and get worse? Or do you think they're going to pull an Immortals or an Origin, or where they look extremely good for one split, lose all of their momentum and energy, and then fall off in summer? Or do you think they're actually just going to get better and better? Because they do look really good. But I'm not sure. Yeah, but they've only have six best of three so far. So it's is this just kind of the honeymoon period for them, or are they actually going to be a competitive team?
To me, the big question really isn't about FlyQuest and their ability to continue to be successful. It's teams like P1, CLG, the other ones who are expecting to end up in playoffs eventually that have to kind of step up and get up to FlyQuest level. So I see them at a pretty even keel throughout the rest of the split, and it's up to other teams to adapt to their level.
I was saying, I don't think you can ever tell if there's a burnout factor because we've been through this with High 2 or 3 times now where it's he's on the decline, he's burning out. He was saying that he had back problems and wrist troubles and he just comes back and does the same thing. So I don't think you can ever put a real solid.
Well, I posed
Kris before you. So here's my thing. I think FlyQuest is currently playing at or right below their ceiling. I think they're playing very well, but I don't think they play better than this or much better than this. I think there's a lot of teams in the NA that are not playing anywhere near their ceiling. TSM is still ramping up. CLG. I think Liquid should be playing a lot better than they are. I think Phoenix One and Dignitas should be playing a lot better than they are. And so once those teams, if they all actually do it, start actually getting cohesive and ramping up, I think a lot of them have higher ceilings than FlyQuest does. But FlyQuest came in at their peak, and they're looking much stronger currently. But I think in the end, they're going to not be quite as good.
Yeah, because I wanted to pose the question about Balls and Lemon. That was definitely because High could shot call his way out of just anything, just about. But Balls and Lemon, I didn't know if they could be competitive. So yeah,
it's gonna be one of those things where it's gonna take some time to see how this plays out. I mean, Moon is still even such a new being good player that we don't know how this is going to continue to play out throughout the split. So they have some serious strengths and some obvious weaknesses, but it doesn't seem like other teams have been able to fully pick that out yet. I do want to put a pin in this discussion and move on. But before we do, we already talked at length about the FlyQuest Cloud9 matchup. But Blake, I want to get your thoughts on the Phoenix One series next week.
I don't see that being an issue, honestly. I think FlyQuest is going to be able to take Phoenix One. As Sean was saying, I think the question right now is, are Phoenix One, CLG, the teams in the middle of the pack right now, going to be able to sort of bring themselves up to a FlyQuest kind of level? And I honestly kind of agree with what Sean was saying. I don't necessarily think that they're at their ceiling yet, but I think they might be playing near it. And
right.
So I think that for next week, the question is, I mean, Phoenix One is looking, I mean, it's no surprise that we are all surprised. You know what I mean?
Right.
With how well they are playing. So is a week going to be enough for them to close that gap between them and FlyQuest, who are playing so clean? I don't think so. I think FlyQuest are just really tumbling through right now. But at the same time, as we were saying, I can't really count out high. I think Lemon is just fine. Balls is the question mark, but right now it doesn't matter because they're doing what CLG normally does, and all their people who are mediocre are just coming together and forming a perfect bolus of destruction.
They're just doing it a lot better than CLG is right now.
Well, yeah. Well, CLG's never really done it well.
Oh
yeah. Speaking of the con of Phoenix One this week, TSM continuing to do TSM things, which is getting 2-0 weeks, but somehow managing to disappoint us in the process. Glaring weakness on this roster still is Wild Turtle. Nothing much has changed in that sense. Bjergsen still has the ability to carry games. That's easy. Sven Skaren is still, looking really good. Like, Cloud9, he was able to add the Ivern to his mix. He has really good games in Kazakhs. Like this is a standard TSM week. They're gonna keep taking it to 3. Wild Turtle's still gonna get caught out from seemingly nothing. I mean, you can't even imagine how many times I was listening to the game and watching the game and I just friggin' hear it just out of nowhere. Wild Turtle gets caught out.
You have to do it in Pastry Time's voice.
And Wild Turtle.
None of us can do the Australian accent.
Yeah,
I'd have to hear it again.
Good day there, mate. Shrimp on the party.
Of course, Blake.
No, but
you've triggered Blake.
Is a diamondback speckled kangaroo there that done stole my dungarees?
the most hypey thing to take out of this week
my
for
favourite thing
TSM.
to do on an off day Sunday, mate, is to get a nice bobby going, get a nice little dungaroo going, go singing in a room.
But, in all seriousness, to be honest, I've gotten used to just TSM. They're going to pull your heartstrings, give you a heart attack, go to 3. But they'll pull it out just because they have the talent. And at the end of the day, they still have the remnant of the macro play they were so good at last year. Wild Turtle will be Wild Turtle. I've gotten used to that, too. I hate every second of it. But, he's a DPS bot that, sometimes glitches out and gets caught in river. And, sometimes.
But it's kind of like Tom Brady in this most recent Super Bowl.
Shut up.
Where they're gonna make
edit your own voice out, dude. They're
gonna break your heart in the beginning, like the game against CLG, right? They go down to CLG after one fucking Baron fight and get dropped for the fastest game, I think, in all of the LCS, NA, and EU to close out. Then it was like 26 minutes, right? It was easy. It was unbelievable how quick and decisive CLG was. You're like, oh my God, maybe this is the turning point for CLG. Then what happens? TSM comes along, we'll just do it in 25 minutes. It's like the last 5 minutes of a Super Bowl, one would imagine.
Oh my God.
And then game 3 was a little more decisive on both ends, but they still managed to pull it out.
I've also heard that between games, Wild Turtle goes backstage and sort of... One could say, inflate scripts into the game.
I just want all of our fans to just give me one big electronic hug when you hear this, because need it. We need it.
Yeah, he needs it.
That sounds like it would kill you. That sounds like an electronic hug would kill you. I think the human body can only withstand so many volts.
Maybe that's what I need.
Yeah, that's probably the last time. So... let's talk Phoenix One. They're the next team down on the rung, and they did suffer a loss against TSM this week. The series, against TSM was pretty back and forth. I actually think this was more of a coin toss. Kris,
well, Phoenix won.
Feel good about this game.
Yeah, it's just like it. It's the same question I posed for FlyQuest too, kind of thing. It's like, are they actually good, or are they just kind of winning luckily each time? Like are they actually going to be a very solid team and actually have a good composition? Because it's just like with TSM with the wild turtle throws, you can't really put that into a win. Like, are they going to be good in the future? Is kind of the question I want to know. Because right now they are looking pretty solid, but is that going to continue? Is definitely going to be the question for me. Like, how are they going to look during summer split? Are they going to be able to finish this one out pretty well, or are they just going to fall apart horribly?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that ties back to the issues surrounding the potential communication problems, because you've got solid skill. Like, you've got Hinori, who can go 7-0-6 on a Kha'Zix and absolutely carry a game. You've got Ryu, who is no slouch in the mid lane.
And Ryu's looking really
Arrow,
good too. Like,
Adrian,
he's looking really strong in comparison to what he was looking on H2K. So I have faith in him.
They have so many good pieces, but they just need, I'd say, more than most teams at the top right now. They really need time to gel. But they had, a rough 1-in-1 week. They walked over Immortals. We don't even need to get into that series because it was awful. It was
absolutely awful.
Right
Watching
now.
Immortals is straight up painful. They should rename their team name. Yeah. Immortals is not a very good fit. They die a lot.
What about just I'm mortal?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I am curious about your thoughts.
Mind totally blown.
That just went a little too
CLG
deep for
matchup for next week. The CLG are some boys that are pretty close to your heart, but they're not doing so well right now. So do you think they've got it in them to take down Phoenix 1?
You asking me if I think CLG is going to?
No, I'm asking Kris. You'll have your time.
Yeah, because Sean's definitely going with this. My problem, I guess, with CLG is right now is they don't seem to really be taking themselves very seriously, and P1 is. So I do think that they actually do have the potential to beat CLG unless CLG actually takes themselves seriously and plays that 26-minute game. Then I think they can crush P1, but I guess it really just depends on who wants this win more. Because if CLG doesn't give a crap, they're going to lose horribly. And if Phoenix 1 wants it, which they should because they're a new team needing to prove themselves still kind of, I think beating CLG would be a big moral win, but CLG might just be like, man, it's P1, and just lose horribly like CLG usually does. So kind of is just like a punch in the balls either way as a CLG fan for me. It's like
to be honest, Darshan looks like he wants to crawl into the corner of his room and just like cry himself to sleep, like all the time. Anytime I see him on stage, he looks so serious, like he just lost all motivation because he's just one of the kind of the worst players on their team right now, and it's so sad to see that decline from what he was, where he was like, oh my god, everyone was on the hype train with Zon Spartan, and then now it's just like Darshan.
Dude, even
his
teacher
too.
calls him
Where's
a disappointment.
Oh, man, that's
we got
just,
so many spicy,
that's just
zesty.
But I do think Phoenix 1 will take the one over CLG. As much as it sucks, I do think they can do it.
Yeah. So moving on down the line, we have Echo Fox, a team with a lot of problems. It seems like, and this has kind of been a classic Echo Fox theme, skill-wise, they have a lot of good pieces in place. Looper's no slouch, Acadian's great, Froggen's great. The bottom lane still is pretty questionable. Like, I feel like we've said that for as many weeks as there's been in the LCS right now. Communication is still a major issue, and unfortunately for them, it's starting to cost some pretty major games. You cannot expect this team to beat Cloud9 right now. That's a wash. You're fine with that as Liquid, or you're fine with that as Fox. Liquid, however, is a match you should win. Golden Glue in an interview, and I forget if it was in this game or if it was in another game. Golden Glue said that they've already had like teammates crying in in team meetings. Liquid is a team you should be able to crush easily. And while Fox did take it to 3, they couldn't close it out. And you've got to start to wonder where they're going to wind up in the standings and if their potential cap is going to be higher than like even Immortals at their worst, Liquid obviously can pull it out against them. Echo Fox is once again in danger of kind of slipping a little bit.
Is it nobody scrimming them either? Is that still a thing? Like I read that a while ago in an article that nobody was really. It still hurts. Like if you're a team that's struggling in practice and you can't scrim, or nobody will scrim you, that sucks.
The terrible thing is it's because, or at least according to Monty, it's because teams have this unspoken rule of not scrimming people they assume poaching.
Yeah,
and that whole
it's scandal. Not even teams. It's the top teams. It's TSM, C9, and Team Liquid have all said that they're not going to scrim any team that scrims Echo Fox. And when two of those are predominantly the top two teams or top two of the top three consistently, you can't really like ostracize yourself against them if you're a younger team or a weaker team, because you really value those practice slots against these top teams. And so they essentially, according to Monty and the other people who are behind the Echo Fox side of this whole thing, they are using their intersocial power to essentially bully the other teams into not communicating or working with Echo Fox, which is
I don't know why TL is doing that, because TL needs all the scrims they can get.
Yeah, at this point, but before they looked like they looked like they were going to be decent, but yeah, now they're probably begging for scrim time. So
you also have to remember TL will always stick next to TSM and C9. They're a large organization and they're going to continue.
It is a discussion that I think we need to put some more time into it, because teams' responsibilities to scrim and the advantages of that isn't something that has really been tackled quite yet. These early reports and rumors have started causing people to talk about it quite a bit. You really could frame it in either way, and I'm sure I know we're probably split across the cast as to how we feel about it exactly, but I want to give that conversation the time that it deserves at a later date, because we still got a lot of teams to move through, and we got to dive a little bit deeper into EU. So we'll keep it moving right along. And the next team that we have down the rung is appropriately actually Liquid.
Yay.
Tears in the meeting room.
Let's roast them.
Yeah.
This team looks so
I really like that.
What do you think, Sean?
Possibly the biggest disappointment, dude.
Yeah, so there's Team Liquid, or as I like to call it, Team Diarrhea, because they're liquid shit.
Team Loser.
Yeah, they are. God, they're bad. And like in the first
they beat
week,
Echo Fox.
Yeah, so like good for them. And it was like you win a cookie, but
Golden Goose got some guns on him.
I have some things to say about Golden Glue that series versus Echo Fox. Dear God.
Well, then go. You might as well get in the good stuff.
Okay.
I start railing.
There was possibly not even possibly. He had the single worst Orianna ultimate I have ever fucking seen.
Oh my God.
In that game, the second game where him and I can't even remember who it was, but it was Golden Glue, and they were trying to kill the Olaf on the enemy team. They were trying to kill Acadian, and Acadian's on Olaf, and Golden Glue has his ball, the Orianna ball, on. I for the life of me remember who he was with, trying to kill him, but basically on the person attacking the Olaf, Acadian, like right next to each other. He then decides to shield himself and then ult, completely missing the Olaf. Like, dude, that's literally like 3 games as Orianna. It's like, not to do that. And completely was like, how do you fuck that up? You're supposed to be a pro player, dude.
I think Golden Glue's another one of those just challenger stars like Fabi, who they brought up here with high hopes, but he's just not working out. And I think for Team Liquid, just reign over wasn't enough.
How many tries has Golden Glue had in the professional scene now?
Too many.
So he's had three separate teams.
He was a T8, or he was with,
I'd say about a nose worth.
Yeah, he's had enough. And it just, reign over wasn't enough to... pull this team up.
How does he keep getting on professional teams?
Because NA does not have good mid laners. Here's the funny thing. They have Link as their fucking mid sub. They have someone who actually has LCS experience who at his time was a top 2, top 3 mid laner in NA. And
Link hasn't played a single game yet, has he?
He's supposed to be rotating, but for whatever reason, they haven't talked about it at all. He's not getting any playtime. I think
he's too busy writing another manifesto about quitting.
He wouldn't even bother because he hasn't done
it. He hasn't even played yet.
Liquid.
He hasn't even played yet, and he's already writing the second one. He's like, dude, I'm fucking done with this team already.
Literally, he's probably not even there as a sub. He's just there to like be the biographer for the entire meltdown.
Guys,
they're not going to do the series.
People were already crying in scrims and team meetings.
Yeah, and to be honest,
Link.
The disparity of talent to why they had to resort to getting Link, and the disparity of talents because they were idiots and released that documentary. No player wants to go play in that type of environment. Doesn't matter if you say you reform thing. When people see that, they're like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to go there.
They got the top jungler.
They got Rainover, but I mean, that's because Rainover's probably really positive that thinks he can turn them around.
Here's the problem.
They gave him so much money.
So much money.
Who do you get as a mid laner when you already have 2 import slots filled? You've got Rainover as your jungler, and you have Piglet as your AD carry. On paper, those are 2 of the strongest possible imports you could have in North America. You've got a world champion winning AD carry who's consistently
really, what
looks
has
like
Piglet
he's the best.
done?
I'm not done yet. You've got an AD carry who has consistently looked the best in domestic play in NA and is a world champion. You've got who was for 2 straight splits the single best jungler in NA, I think hands down. There were certainly ones who were close to him, but he was definitely, I think, the best overall. And you put those on paper and you think, okay, let's get a mid laner who can sort of hold his own. We should be fine. Matt and Piglet look good. Lorlo looked fantastic last split. Things are looking up, right? No. They're looking like hot garbage. Piglet's playing like shit. Rainover looks goddamn lost. Lorlo's losing 1v1s that he used to win because people have figured him out. I'm convinced that people now know how to play against Lorlo, and the reason that they couldn't beat him before was because he was a newer player, and people didn't pay much attention to him until he started rolling people over. And then you've got someone in the mid lane who's super exploitable, and if Rainover's not able to give him the sorts of like backup that he needs because he's called bot, or he's called top because they're consistently losing, Golden Glue has to feel like it's all on his shoulders, and he's, for all intents and purposes, he's a rookie. He was not really, this is his actual first split where he was the starter, and he's expected to play as a starting caliber LCS mid laner.
Did he not start with T8?
But not as an LCS team. He wasn't the original starter on any of the other teams. I was think.
Pretty sure he was on Team.
Yeah, he was the
original starter.
On T8.
I thought Slushy was the original starter.
Yeah, no, it was Slushy, and Slushy bailed, and Golden Glue took over. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, Slushy either was terrible to practice with or didn't give a fuck, so they brought Golden Glue in as basically the replacement, and then
he's been the stopgap. He's been the Keith of his role.
He's been the Keith,
and now just like Keith, he's thrown into a starting position and expected to carry consistently, not just on a star cameo basis. And it's so much pressure on him consistently because the other stars that are supposed to be picking up the slack are failing around him. And so I actually feel horrible for Golden Glue. He is not put in a win situation. He's put in a situation where he's going to lose because his team is hot garbage everywhere. So every mistake he makes is going to be magnified. He's going to be forced into trying to making plays that most mid laners don't have to force because their team's at least even. And so I just feel bad for him. But that whole thing, Liquid is just so bad in every capacity. The individual positions are playing poorly. The picks and bans are 9 times out of 10 fucking awful. I don't know what's going on in the house. I don't know why they haven't tried some sort of substitutions at this point. I honestly think they need to start subbing out Piglet, put in someone at NA for AD carry if they can. I don't know who the fuck they get. And then maybe look at importing an actual good mid laner.
See,
because this whole thing, blow it up. Literally blow up Team Liquid.
One thing I want to say, but hold on. At this point though, no, hold on. Even if they can't sub in Link, just sub in Arc second at this point. He's a mid laner.
Honestly. He's not great. He's got a very, very small champion pool. But anything would help to give something different. But my thing is, I don't think Golden Glue is the problem. I think he's a symptom of the giant problem that is the piece of shit that's Team Liquid.
So then you've got to ask the question, since we're going to transition over to Immortals now. Immortals is Liquid's only real hope for next week in a win, considering they've got Cloud9 in the other matchup. Kris, where are you putting the Cloud9 Immortals game given Immortals' performance this week?
I know how to close out.
Immortals is terrible. Like it's the small rundown of it is the only reason that I think Immortals should do okay at this point is if they put Flame on a carry and Flame just is able to 1v5. And Flame's looking not too great either, but it's just like the rest of them. Cody's son is playing frontline Ashe, which is just so funny to watch. I think in one of the games I watched against FlyQuest by like the 20-minute mark, he was like 0-6. It's awful. He has no idea what he's doing. And then essentially it was just like with the mid laner like Pobelter's just so tilted. He just doesn't even know what to do with himself anymore. As Sean said it earlier, they should be wearing special shoes because they should not be able to walk straight with how tilted they are. It's just, oh man. A dumpster fire. I think hopefully Liquid should take it, but it's going to be like 6 hours of a series.
Yeah. Speaking of dumpster fires and tilt, Sean, we're getting towards the bottom of the barrel here, and we're talking about CLG. What do you got?
All right. CLG is the best worst team in the LCS, and I'll say it again this week because we won a week. All right. I think this week was another continuation. This is exactly the sort of stuff, and I'll just give a general overview so I don't get stuck in anything. They're definitely looking a lot better as a team. The picks and bans are looking better. They're looking better in series. The series against TSM I thought was the best series this whole weekend. EU and NA. I thought they were both very good. The games that each team won were very strong wins. Or the first games in Game 1 and Game 2 were very strong. Lots of mistakes from CLG in Game 2. And Game 3 was very close, exciting, just overall really solid series. Really happy to see that kind of play out of CLG, especially considering what they came into this weekend with. I think that's really what you need to see from them in order to tell if they're growing. I think they are. I think they're going to get better and better. I think we're seeing them as a probably 4th or 5th place team at the end of the season at this point. I think they're going to beat P1 this weekend. I think that a lot of P1 strengths are built off of Ryu getting a lead in the mid lane. I think Huhi may not win lane every time, but he very rarely now loses lane. And that's been the case for about a full year, where he is very good at avoiding losing the lane. He will leave, he will roam, he will do other stuff to bring his strengths elsewhere. And so I think that CLG is actually going to end up taking that. Their macro play is looking a lot better. Players are looking better on the different champions. I actually think Darshan stepped up quite a bit from the past couple of weeks. Hopefully he continues to improve. If he can be a rock that he used to be, then I think CLG is looking very solid.
Yeah, it's funny how we kind of look at these different teams right now. You have Immortals and Liquid who just really don't look good at all. They have the same record as CLG does at 2-4, but when you look at an Echo Fox and Phoenix 1 week and you see CLG potentially going 2-0, maybe even 1-1 in the week, that skyrockets them, within the top 4 and back into the conversation of the likes of the Cloud9s, the TSMs, which is something I think we can give to CLG over the others. So their only win this week was against Dignitas, who currently sits at 1-5. Blake, what is with your boy? The collective
That's
sounds
exactly what I said.
That's what's going through everyone's head when they think about that.
I mean, there's not. Yeah,
that's how that team communicates.
There's not much to say right now. We really just have to hope that it's not an envy situation. We just really have to hope that this is. We have to trust in their coaching staff. We have to trust in all of the players to keep their shit together and want to improve and want to work together, because that's the opposite. Not that is what happened with Envy last split, and we saw how that turned out. And so I am just praying to sweet baby Poseidon that that doesn't happen to my sweet baby Dignitas. Due to an abnormal amount of snow in the Vancouver area this past weekend, I only got to watch the Dignitas FlyQuest series, but I'm sure Kris and Sean can speak to the CLG series. But they're just not making moves anymore. Someday seems like he just sort of wants to jump ship. But at the same time, it's like, oh, you can't just say that the Koreans are doing well and the North Americans aren't, because Chaser's not exactly looking stellar at all. Moon absolutely demolished him in that series. I don't really know. I mean, we have to kind of wait and see. I'm kind of scared about the series with Envy next weekend, because if they lose to Envy, then I'm going to probably commit seppuku.
I think you mean Sudoku, right?
Sudoku, yes.
I think like Dignitas right now just has a good old classic communication problem, and unfortunately for them, it's not. They don't have the pieces that. I mean, man, it's only one win. It's only one win at this point, and that's what we have to kind of focus in on. They've got to at least get better than Immortals and Liquid. They've got to be able to bunny hop someone, because right now they are facing being as low as Envy, and that's a tough position to be in, because we're down to 2 teams getting relegated. I don't think it's a good sign. There's a bigger league problem here where I don't think it's a good sign for a team like Venture Backed to come in after being relegated and then instantly getting relegated again in their first split. I don't think that's going to look good on paper for future investors, but I think as a service to the fans, no one wants to see this Dignitas roster go down in fire. But man, if there was anything that we predicted incorrectly, it was Dignitas's performance in his first.
We hyped the fuck out of that team.
God. But so did it. Wasn't just us; it was everybody. You go and you read anything.
For sure. For sure.
This is a big disappointment. But as I said, the question here now is, I mean, it's a long season, man. It's a long split. Anything can happen. We just need to hope that they sort of continue to stay motivated and stay positive and work towards actually improving, because if they don't, we know what's going to happen. And I'm not going to say the DF word, but
disenfranchising.
Dude, that was exactly a good
Is that it
right there.
I think I did it.
Yeah.
I'm just a little upset, a little disappointed.
To put a bow on North America, we can talk about like the weird ass eclipse where Envy 2-0'd Liquid.
Dude, Envy won. Envy won something.
They did, which makes them better than Roccat and Origin right now.
Dude, I'm proud. I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, they did do the thing. It wasn't, I mean, I guess it was impressive considering where they've been as a team. Any comments on that, Ian? Further than wow, that's a thing.
It's like they. No, I'm actually not going to say that. Never mind.
Neat is the word you were looking for. Envy, what a game.
We don't really have to they won, but they still look terrible. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Actually, didn't. I think them winning that was more of a testament to how bad Liquid looked than how good Envy actually looked that series. Like they won and it was kind of clean, but that was also because Team Liquid played just abysmally. So
time, buddy.
Let's cross the ocean and talk about group. I want to hear from Cole, because we have to, like, I was actually kind of sad. Cole, you were watching your college team in the ULOL series. Did you guys win? I didn't actually even check the stats.
We did. We 2-0'd Southern. We rammed it right up that. I won't say anything too mean because,
right
up the
friends
Falcons.
over there.
Right up the
Falcons hole.
Huh?
Right up the pooper.
Right up the Falcons
You know what,
hole.
Mott, stop bringing this up, man. It's gonna go over 10:30. It's gonna be your fault because you keep bringing this shit up.
We haven't even touched Europe.
We'll start with Group B then, because I want to hear about Unicorns, because they're one of our only undefeated teams in Europe. One of the two.
Barely.
The kings
Barely.
of the groups.
barely still undefeated. They looked a lot worse than they have in these past weeks, I'll admit. They look like the old UOL, where it was a lot of chaos, a lot of hyper-aggression from the team, reckless dives, starting Barons they didn't have to. And to be honest, except for the third game, it was really sloppy, kind of out of both teams. And if Splice hadn't played bad, Splice probably would have won. And they would have, and UOL would have deserved to lose. And this team is kind of on a downward trend too. They're starting to see the numbers decline, and CS difference at 15, gold difference. Their first blood and first turret numbers are atrocious. A lot of their leads come out of mid-game transitions where they do really wacky stuff. They did pull out the Warwick though, which was great. They're always the first innovators. And Cersei, between Cersei and Vizichachi and a little bit of Samix, I don't know how much I can give him credit for it because he is kind of a he's doing a lot of damage, but I don't know how much of it is, like, I want to say, like, being key parts of fights. But Vizichachi and Cersei are really what is kind of holding this team afloat right now until they solve some of these other problems. Their pick and ban was still pretty good. Sheepy has still been solid, but just a lot of in-game stuff. And next week it's going to be about, does their hyper-aggression lose them their first game? And if not, do they look like they can beat G2?
Yeah, so that's kind of the question. These next couple of weeks in Europe, we're going to be seeing intergroup or extra group play, whatever the word is.
They've got an easy week next week, though.
Yeah, well, they've got to face all of the other group teams once over the next 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it is. So I guess my question to you, Cole, is who do you think Unicorns can manage to continue to beat in Group A? So you got G2, Misfits, Fnatic, Giants, and Roccat.
I think, cause I still want to believe in Fnatic. I think if Fnatic maybe gets it together before they end up playing UOL again, they might be able to give them a challenge, but I don't think it's like a win for Fnatic or anything. I don't think it's going to be too close, but you know, anything can happen. G2, I don't think they can beat yet. Not until they clean up some of this hyper aggression. I have to look at their schedule on who they play next week.
It's Giants, and I don't know if they have a 2 or a 1 week. Hold on.
But regardless, it's going to be about how clean those games are. They
just play Giants next week.
They just play Giants.
It's a single
Yeah, it's going to be about how clean that win against Giants is, and that will kind of tell you how they're going to do going against G2. I think they can beat Misfits, but it's another close
spoiler
one.
alert, it's going to be clean.
So, I mean, maybe. I mean, if they keep picking out these really unique picks and just playing, and they get back to the macro that they were playing before this week against Splice, which was kind of an outlier for them so far this year, then they definitely have a chance of being G2. The first team to pull out Warwick. Between them and G2, they're really defining the meta with Ivern, and we're going to see more Ivern bans, I think, because he's just really, really, really overpowered right now, and his win rate is absurd across the scene. And also, we're going to see if teams actually start picking on Vizichachi. He's been kind of a rock for this team. His Shin has like an 80% win rate right now. He's rocking a 5.3 KDA, but this weekend he had like a 7.2 KDA. He was doing the most damage of his team this entire weekend. That's how much he's been doing work for them in their gameplay.
And Shen's such a good champion to have like as a pocket pick for you because while you can't play it into everything, you're also not going to ban it out. So you can build a strategy around that. You can, have the consistency in the top with that and do super well. The numbers on Ivern, by the way, just to kind of pump that in, it's currently a win rate of 69%. Nice. With 18 wins and 8 losses over all of the regions, 26 picks and 15 bans. It's starting to get banned out. And just connecting on to that G2 potential matchup coming up. That is one of Trick's champions right now that he's been playing quite.
And they're the ones that scrimmed each other to start breaking that meta. It was between those two teams that they actually started practicing Ivern. So it's gonna be really interesting how UOL navigates the pick and ban to either make it disadvantageous to take the Ivern or if they just straight up ban it out because they don't want Trick on it. Depending on what side they're on. So it's gonna be when that matchup does come through. It's gonna be really interesting. But I want to see them get through Giants really clean first. I want to see them hopefully 30 to sub 30-minute games. Don't give Giants a chance. Don't do anything reckless. Hillisang he was making me tear my hair out the way that he was making some plays, just getting caught out for like almost no reason, just being too hyper aggressive.
Yeah. So this week, or these upcoming weeks, will really pan out how Unicorns of Love looks compared to the next team down on the rung in H2K, Mr. Grant. Welcome to Europe.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm glad to be there, but I'm not. H2K played Vitality, and Vitality took H2K to 3 games. Like, that's really all I have to say. Like, it was not a good series. H2K should not have been taken to 3 games by Vitality. Hachani is just free kills for the enemy team every single game. So you should just be able to snowball off that. But H2K just made a lot of bad choices at some points in this game, or in the first game, and then came back. They were able to beat Camille in the third game, which when I was watching it, oh my god, was I worried when Camille and Syndra are both allowed through. Like, what? Ugh. But whatever. They won the series, and that's all that really matters, but it's not. I'm glad they're going into intergroup play because it'll get them away from playing UOL. But at the same time, after all this, after seeing how these have really panned out, Group A looks way worse than Group B to play. With Misfits, Fnatic, and G2 all looking pretty strong. It's going to be rough.
What teams do you think are going to be or should be beatable for H2K next week? Because you have Rockhat and Giants down towards the bottom, and for all intents and purposes, that should be teams that H2K can beat. But then you're looking at a Fnatic that is making some changes, bringing in. We'll talk about their roster changes. They're dropping Amazing for a couple of weeks.
I think H2K can beat Fnatic. I don't. Yeah. That team, like, they look really good, but I don't think Fabiven's going to have a lot of trouble with caps. And I think the team as a whole is going to be able to deal with Fnatic. I really don't know about Misfits. That team has been showing some really strong play, and with how H2K has been looking, I don't see them beating G2.
And that is going to be the first matchup for that week. First day, H2K versus G2. They have a game later on against Rockhat that week. Call it in the air. Where are you putting them?
I think they're going 1-1 next week. If they lose to Rockhat, I'm going to be real sad.
Yeah.
I think if they make the correct changes, they can take G2 to 3 games, but G2 is too strong of a team.
So let's move right on down the line then to Splice. Splice, another team of odd potential, but going into this week, dropping a game against Unicorns of Love, a game all for intents and purposes, they should have lost, and then picking up one against OG, a game they should have won. Sean, we got both feet in the door.
So, I think there's some interesting things. I think Splice is still a very, very good team. They're very clearly in the top half in all of Europe. I still think they're a top 3 team, along with probably G2/H2K, although I don't think G2 has been looking super hot either. The dropping the games or the series against UOL was unfortunate. But the games that the Splice were able to win, they were very, very good. The one game that they won on was absolutely dominant. So they seem to have one style of play they're very, very good at, and they haven't quite gotten to the adapting to the other part of the meta. This is a struggle that we're seeing a lot of teams go through, where there are certain teams in each region that have figured out how to play the game optimally and then have also figured out how to play the game optimally in different ways. And UOL is very much capable of playing super aggressive within the meta or right outside the meta, and that's just not something Splice was capable of adapting to. UOL is an okay team at this point, I think, to be dropping a series against, as long as they beat them later in the split. The OG games, there's why even bother talking about it. Splice looked really good.
Yeah. So next week they've got their matchup against Misfits, which is their first extra group play. How are you feeling about this matchup, and how do you think they're going to fare against Group A?
So Misfits is 3-0-1, I think, and I think it's going to be actually a pretty decent matchup. I think Splice is going to come away with it. I think they've had more difficult matchups than Misfits have had. Their group is a lot stronger, just in general. And so I think they've got the advantage of that. I don't watch a lot of the Misfits play, so I wouldn't be able to say specifically what they're particularly good at and whether or not that's something Splice can fight.
I'm excited about the game, though. I mean, looking at the two of them, I mean, watching Senkuk's Power of Evil, everyone just seems very much on a similar level.
Yeah, and they're both... So Splice seems to be kind of ramping up and getting better, and they did hit a speed bump in UOL, which is looking very, very strong right now. And Misfits is doing a heck of a lot better than I think anyone anticipated, and I'm really happy to see where they're at right now. I think this is going to be one of the series to watch in Europe outside of the H2K G2 series for next weekend. So
because I think what sets both these teams apart, why it's going to be exciting, is because both of these teams have like a no-tilt factor. You saw Misfits get down against Fnatic early, kind of super hard. The average team would have kind of tilted and been like, we can win next game. Misfits, they just kind of played it patiently. Crepo was admiring how they played it patiently. They didn't, try and speed up the tempo or panic. And they just waited for Fnatic to make a mistake, which Fnatic did. And then once they did that, they hopped on, seized it, and then steamrolled the game. And then that bled into the game too. Same with Splice. They lost against UOL, but Splice, we've known since last split that Splice has like a no tilt factor. You cannot tilt this team. And it's going to be basically, I don't know how to predict this one. Because usually it'd be, okay, whichever team makes the first mistake, the team that will lose in the situation. But I don't think mistakes will really factor in unless they make like 10 different mistakes. And then, of course,
I think it's going to come down to draft. It's going to come down to draft. And I think that if it comes down to draft, Tomato Canyon has the advantage on that.
Yeah,
see, I would normally agree with you, but I actually think that Tomato Canyon's had some very poor drafts since the beginning of the split. So,
however, Splice's champion pool right now is a lot deeper than Misfits. Two really glaring issues for Misfits is going to be Hansama really hasn't had a super deep champion pool, and Kakao, while he has had a lot of success on champions like Ivern and gotten a lot of games on Kha'Zix, he doesn't really, that's kind of it, and those are, he definitely pick or bannable champions. Senkuk's has a great champion pool right now. He's got like crazy ass pocket picks like Mord that he can bring out. So you really are going to have a hard time coming and being able to beat Splice in that sense. And I'd give it to that matchup just because of that.
I mean, and toward pick and ban, I think a factor will actually be, is Splice afraid enough of Ignar's Thresh to ban it like some other teams have, which leaves open picks for your top or mid laner. I think if they do not ban the Thresh, I think I'd rather do that and then close the gates to some of these other more powerful picks than ban the Thresh because you're afraid of one player and leave it open for like a Power Evil to grab a power pick or Alfaro to grab a power pick in top lane.
Yeah, I would have to kind of disagree with what you said about Kakao there, Mott. Like, yes, he's gotten losses on other champions, but the only loss this team has got against is G2. And Ivern's very good, but I don't think Kakao is going to be an issue on this team at all. I think he's something they really have to be careful about.
Yeah, they 2-0'd Rockcat and Fnatic. They did drop one game against Giants, but it's something that you can target and you can look at it and say, okay, like we know these are known quantities. And sometimes like leaving up picks, I wouldn't
be surprised if Kakao's got picks behind picks. This guy's been playing forever.
Sure. And he hasn't had to show a lot. So, that's the advantage we get to see for teams that always take it to 2-1. Or to the best of 3, because we get to see how deep their champion pools really go. But we'll move on down the line to Vitality, a team that's having a pretty rough time of it as of right now. Next week they're going to be facing off against Fnatic, but this week they lost against H2K, which we already kind of covered.
This team sucks.
I mean, all right, so frame that in, because we know how they've performed.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Frame it against Group A.
I wasn't just gonna leave it there. Like, I'm not gonna.
You could. I wouldn't fault you for it. We do it to Dardoch all the time.
That is a good point. This team really needs to figure out where their synergy is as a whole, because they have talent across the line, and we saw Nuke Duck go off in the one game that they won against H2K, but the rest of the team they get away from themselves. They don't work together well. They don't listen to each other for shit. Hachani is constantly just doing something alone in the enemy jungle or somewhere on the map. It gets caught out, like, consistently. Like, it blows me away how often he dies every single game just for no reason. And those are like the biggest issues for this team, is they just need to communicate with each other. And I think if they could figure out a way to do that, they can beat some teams. I see that. I want to say they're better than Rockhat and Giants, but I don't know. On paper, they're better than both Rockhat and Giants. On paper, they're better, but I can't.
You have to be able to beat Giants and Rockhat at this point, because realistically, like, you're looking at a situation where, all right, you can't really step to like, if you look across all groups, you can't step to G2, Misfits, UOL, H2K, right? So that's 4. That's either going to move you potentially to squeak in at playoffs or get to the middle of the pack. You got to be able to beat Rockhat and Origin at least to get out of the relegation area. That's kind of like, that's where you have to be.
The nice part for Vitality is they have Origin below them. There's at least a worse team in their group.
Right. If they've got to be able to pull off 2 wins against Origin in their lifetime and 1 win against Rockhat when they play them in these coming weeks, and that's probably right where you're going to land. Like, even if you don't go any further, that's still enough to not get relegated. Which, great system you're
and, like, after seeing the play that Nuke Duck put down in Game 1 against H2K, I could see this Vitality team coming together and beating Fnatic next week. I could see it. But do I actually think it's going to happen? No.
Probably not.
Like, probably not.
Yeah.
I would love to see it happen because, again, this is one of the many teams on paper that should be winning this shit.
Yeah. So to round off Group B, Origin, probably the most exciting matchup of this cross group play this upcoming week is going to be Origin versus Rockhat.
Someone's got to lose.
The rumble in the jungle.
Nobody wins.
Actually
Gorilla in Manila.
One of those teams wins, but everyone else loses.
I thought we said that about Giants Rockhat. What?
This could be Nahun.
I think this could be a really good drinking game, actually. This game.
Yeah, it is getting kind of.
It doesn't happen until week 7.
Yeah, it's a long way out, which is kind of sad.
Maybe they'll get decent by then.
How many times does Max Floor be useless in one game we drink?
Yeah, it's gonna be a ton of fun to watch. But until then, like,
gets a win, finish everything.
In Giants' case, every time a turret is not destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we're not talking about Giants, are we?
Not
Rockhat.
yet.
Shit.
Every time
they're all just blending into one team for me. Giants, Roccat, and Origin. It's
every
just
time Hjarnan dies and they zoom into his ugly mug, you'd have to take a shot.
Like, isn't
Pretty
it kind of
much.
strange? Isn't it kind of strange that like you could take those 3 teams, Origin, Giants, and Roccat, and you could just mix and match their players, and they would probably play equally as well.
You know,
I want to say
I don't agree with
Giants-
that. I think you could actually pull a somewhat decent in Europe team out of. Actually, no, I take that back because only the bottom 2 teams get relegated anyway, so it doesn't matter. One of those
But,
teams
like,
will automatically be.
Guys, it's still, if you
seventh
look at
place.
all the players on all 3 teams, all the best players are on Vitality.
Yeah,
Like-
they honestly have like a decent fucking roster. It looks like, except for Hachani. If you got rid of Hachani and put back in Kasing, I'm convinced Vitality would be a middle of the pack team.
Hashtag bring
convinced.
back Kasing, man.
Like, you look at all the bottom 4 teams, and there's no major talent. Like, yes, you've got mid laners, you've got like Knight and Betsy, but there's no bot lanes that stand out other than Vitality's got Steelback, which he's a known quantity. He's one of the few known quantities.
Yeah. I mean, the sad part about all of this, though, is that when you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, LCS makes sense. The bad teams get relegated. The good teams, finally get the chance to move up. But right now, Misfits was kind of a great team to bring in, but like, there's not a lot coming out of the challenger scene right now that we can get super excited about. But Fnatic, who we'll talk about in just a minute here, is actually starting to make some moves to diversify their roster and hopefully make things a little bit more exciting. But let's talk about the top of their group with G2, because that's our other 4-0 team. They're going to start playing teams from the other group, and they are going to be a major upsetting factor for the likes of H2K and Unicorns of Love, potentially, who want to keep their lead in their group. So, Ian, what are you thinking about G2?
Okay, so G2 this week, they really didn't. The match that we saw didn't really show anything. I think that everyone expected them to win that pretty handily. It was versus Giants, which is a team that doesn't look very good. They even had a perfect game versus them, actually, which was very... I don't know when the last time there was a perfect game in competitive league was. It was a while ago. But like, they just look super dominant. And I think everyone expected that. I think the things that we're going to be looking for in G2 are going to be in the H2K match that is going to happen this coming Thursday. And then I believe the following week they play Unicorns of Love. Yes, they do play Unicorns of Love the following week. So I think that's what people are really going to be wanting to focus on is how are they going to fare versus Unicorns. I think they can beat H2K, but I think Unicorns is the biggest question mark right now. I do want to point out I feel like the biggest question mark versus Unicorns is going to be probably the bot lane. I don't know how well Hylissang is going to look versus the bot lane of G2, because their bot lane has looked incredibly solid throughout the entirety of the split so far. And
You're talking about G2's bot lane?
yes.
Yeah, Sven and Mithy.
So maybe the entirety of their entire existence, I think, would be
Yeah.
very apt for that.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah. But like
Historically.
they're like just continuing this split. So it's like I feel like that'll be the biggest point that G2 will want to play off of. They will we'll probably see a lot of pressure be focused on the bot lane and then just try and play off that. So I think that's going to be the biggest point to look for in that series. And that's the series I'm most looking forward to. Other than that, versus H2K, I want to say that I feel like they're gonna probably H2K is probably gonna try and play around Febivin, but I just don't know if they can make I don't know if they can make playing around Febivin only work, because G2 as a whole looks super strong, and so I feel like if they focus too much on mid lane, the other lanes will end up winning on their own, and that we'll just see G2 snowball out of control from that. So I think those are the two things to look for in the upcoming series.
Both the Unicorns of Love and H2K have to be able to take the tempo of the game into their own hands and actually generate a lead by like the 15 or 20 minute mark, because G2 is a good enough team where if you wait for them to impose their will upon you and then try to find an advantage in that by either turning around a team fight or like trading out objectives for a long period of time, it's just not very likely to happen. You've got to be able to take a strong game and, actually go in with a plan and execute it.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see. I think like that's sort of our best hope for high level play. And it's where we're going to see these three teams. I'll even rope in Misfits into them as we go to speak about them as well. Into this pool of like, we're going to learn a lot about these top four teams in these couple of weeks. And it's sad for the players and for the teams that they're only going to get to test their mettle against each other like once, and then they have to go back against their group partners. But then we'll be able to see this later on in playoffs, and we'll have this one sort of impression to base things off of, and we'll be able to see how the lessons that were learned in those games get adapted upon.
Yeah.
But Oden, talk to me about Misfits. They're weak this week.
They're up against Splice this week. They just had a really good showing against Fnatic, just tearing them apart. Like, Caps was able to go off, but it's
Baby Faker, man, and Faker's now streaming, so Caps, I guess, can learn how to be like adolescent Faker soon.
Don't talk about my boy Caps like that.
He just
Stop.
It showed that
Fucking stop.
You get so tilted when you hear
Caps?
that.
I'm so frustrated by it. He's not that good. Not even close. Stop it.
The games against Misfits show that he can look good, but it doesn't fucking matter. A team that works together better will win every single time. And Misfits showed that they're like, hey Caps, you can go off as much as you fucking want, but your team's gonna lose. We're gonna fucking tear you apart piece by piece, and we're gonna show you guys how a good team plays. And they fucking did.
PoE styled both games. Like, he's still really good.
And what did I say at the beginning? Like, this is probably the team where we're finally going to be able to see PoE go off, like, be himself again like he was back on old UOL. He fucking did so well on Corki in both games. Fucking 7-1-2 and then 10-2-9. Double kills everywhere. Fucking so good.
And Corki's a great champion for him too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's a bannable champion yet. I don't know how many people have actually been banning Corki off the top of my head.
I don't know if I don't know how many Corki bans I've seen at all.
Yeah, right now it's if you're looking at all of spring, across all all regions, it's 81 picks and 29 bans, but it's got a 55% win loss. Mostly played in North America by comparison, but I mean it's a strong pick for him. He did really well in these games. Talk to me about Misfits though by comparison to Group B. Where do you see them being most successful this week? Or these upcoming weeks, I should say.
I think Misfits isn't going to have to deal with too much in Group B, actually. I think still the only time that they're going to continue to have like major issues is going to be G2, and then it's going to be hard games between UOL and H2K. But I see Misfits. I can see Misfits pulling out a series against H2K and UOL at this point. I don't think Splice has a chance personally.
So Fnatic, they made kind of an announcement this week. They're swapping out Amazing in weeks 4 and 5 for Broxa. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Brox. I think it's something like that. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, he's from their Challenger series. They lost this week's match against Roccat, they lost this week's matchup against Misfits, but picked up a win against Roccat, which I don't know, we kind of should expect. And in weeks 4 and 5, they're going to be squaring off against Vitality, Splice, and Origin. So kind of an easy week, but also a pretty big gamble for a team who needs to pick up wins to stay competitive. Where are we at with Fnatic?
Yeah, they're gonna probably go 2-1, and the move to switch Broxa for Amazing was necessary. I mean, not only did Amazing just have bad games this week, but he wasn't. I don't know. He wasn't even building right. Like, you saw him building the Burst, Assassin, Elise, and it's like that's not the build you need to go in a certain situation. Also, they need to fix their pick and bans against Misfits. Like, the other series against Roccat was a complete clown fiesta. I'm not going to say the DF word.
Dumpster
but
fire.
It was a complete... Oh, well...
Disenfranchisement.
Yeah.
That's 5.
So, it was a complete dumpster fire. I mean, it was like trading blowouts back and forth. And the only reason Roccat won a game was because Caps had 5 deaths on Corki, giving up the lead that they had because he kept getting caught out. And it was just... And that's the thing that was most disappointing about this week. Not the Misfits loss, but mainly the Roccat that they didn't get the 2-0, the clean 2-0 against a team that is obviously garbage. Obviously hot shite. It's just something that needed to happen.
Just dancing with the devil right now, Cole.
That trash can was on fire.
There was a bin, and it was in flames.
Well, like,
the entire landfill napalmed.
I walked into my kitchen, and would you know it, my foot pedal operated canister that I put garbage into had spontaneously combusted.
I'm trying
One could
not
call
to.
it
I'm now self-conscious about it. Thanks, guys.
as you should be.
But yeah, like in game 2 about their pick and ban, like, all right, so they have pick phase 1, and Misfits doesn't take the Kha'Zix. Why don't you take the Kha'Zix? Instead, they pick up the Elise. Like, that's just amazing. He's always been stubborn about his champion pool, and I don't know why. He actually picked up a win on the Kha'Zix when he played it. It wasn't the best, but it was a win. And then in game 1 against Misfits, the more disappointing part was like, they had a lead, they looked clean, they were going into the mid game, and then things just fell apart. Bad communication, poor comm, it just fell off the rails, mainly starting with Amazing. And this team still has potential. I think mainly from Caps and Reckless. I think Reckless had like a 7.2 KDA overall last week. No, that's actually overall in EU. And Caps is doing pretty well for himself as well. I think if they play through those two more often, and also if Soaz and Broxa can, bring some more dynamic play to this team, that it'll look better. But for right now, it's just looking rough for Fnatic fans. I feel bad for them, to be honest.
They always come back. They always come back.
Yeah.
I'm not even worried. Like, legit, it's so weird to say. Like, I'm not even worried. I just have this unbelievable, unshakable. I won't use the word that Sean and Kris want me to use, but it's an unbelievable, unshakable knowing.
Hope? Faith? Is it faith?
We can hope that they at least make it into playoffs, and I think that's the spot where Fnatic will shine if given the opportunity. But let's talk about a team that doesn't have the same luster. Giants.
Yeah, they got a perfect game done against them versus G2, and they look awful. Next.
Dude, they look so bad.
Yeah.
Next.
Who do you think in Group A can beat, or I should put it
Giants,
in the other
everybody.
way. Origin's there. Do you think Vitality and Origin have a chance to beat Giants? Because right now,
Yes, I do.
Giants have to fight for their life to get out of that relegation zone, and they need to get some low-hanging fruit here.
If there's a
Giants don't even look like a team
if
right
there's
now.
a
They just
team
don't.
that they have a chance of beating, it's Giants. Like hands down.
Yeah.
Giants just look so bad right now.
Nahun might get that one. He
Like if
might
there's
finally get it.
if there's a team that they have the
Can we
potential
start-
of getting like
Can we
Nahun.
start a Twitter trend? I want a Twitter trend. I want hashtag pray for Nahun. I want this to be a thing. He needs our support right now.
I would actually much rather watch Nahun go for a whole nother split.
Dude, I want to see this guy.
You
go
don't even know
an entire
him,
another
Grant.
split
You don't know what
without a
he's
win.
like. You don't know if he's
No,
a good
dude,
person.
No.
He might be the
we know
greatest
it. We know-
person in the world.
We know exactly what he's like.
You might
did you not
become
read, Did you
best
not read
buds.
his bio on the LoL esports thing?
You might be his best bud
Yo,
if you knew
He
him.
has a never say die attitude.
I'm sorry, but before Mott cuts us off, I have to say that was a very low-key Ricky Bobby mention. He said, "Do you know what my life is like?"
I mean,
Do not put that knife in your leg, Ricky Bobby.
Jesus.
No, that's Origin talking to Giants. It's like, don't you put that knife in your leg.
Rockcat and Giants. We can put them both
compare them to Ricky Bobby,
into
he
kind of the
wins.
same pool here. They're gonna have a very tough time these upcoming weeks, and it in a weird way, I think it gets to be a certain point in the split where like playoffs becomes unrealistic. You're fighting for that relegation spot, but there's a chance you can start gambiting people and pull off some crazy ass win. I mean, the best of 3 makes it really tough. Best of 1 was like perfect for this. But like the upset win that disrupts somebody else higher up in the tier for you, maybe even gets you out of relegation. And that's where the excitement's going to come. That's where Giants have to find their luster. And that's why Origin versus Rockcat is going to be so hypey, because someone's going to come out of that. Someone's going to get a little boost. And I don't know, maybe they chain it into 2. But this is a rough spot for the bottom of the old EU
Barrel?
barrel.
Dumpster?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Hopefully we can
dumpster
start
of which we
focusing on
can
actual good teams.
on fire. But speaking of lighting things on fire, the dumpster is knocked over and it's burned up the rest of the episode. So like EU is definitely your region to watch this week. We're going to start seeing this cross group play, and that is actually going to be really exciting. Like, despite all of the hate that we've put onto this new format, this is the excitement part for a lot of things, and it's going to define what the last third of this split will look like for Europe. So definitely exciting times. There's going to be lots of good games to watch. And
Wait, Mott, what patch are we going to be on next week?
fuck if I know, dude.
Oh, I mean, this is fan requested, man. You gotta please the people.
Yeah.
Next week's going to be 7.2.
Oh, on that note, I will have more smoothie recipes coming within the weeks.
Oh God.
Yeah. So from Jesus Christ, I almost fucking forgot. Dark Spell, new T4 show. It's on YouTube. There are currently, at the time of this recording, and by the time the episode's up, there's only one episode right now. It's me and the first in a series of 5 of Cheer Jaden from the proper. His introduction. It's a Dungeons and Dragons live play, 5th edition. It will be featuring Sean and Blake, your good friends from the LCS rundown.
I'm trying to figure out what little class my little halfling's gonna be.
It's gonna be super exciting. It's gonna right now, like we're building these origin stories, which are all going to kind of come together into one.
Sorry, Ma, you
apex.
misspoke there. It's actually pronounced Ori Hen stories.
Coming up to sort of this master campaign that's going to be rolling out. I've put a ton of work into it, and it's super exciting. Definitely check it out. That's on the T-Force YouTube, where you can find other cool LCS rundown stuff, like copies of our full episodes, specific conversations that we pull out each week, and fun stuff like the Goof Down and other shit like that. So from everybody here in the lovely T-Force family, this has been episode 146 of the T-Force LCS Rundown. We will see you next week, where we part the kimono on lots of great North American and European games.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.
See ya.
Goodbye. Love you. And